Johnny here for Johnny's Car Care and Advice. So what we're going to be doing here today is fixing the stone chips on the girlfriend's Lincoln. And these are stone chips that actually have a bit of rust that have formed inside of them. So the procedure is a little bit different than what we've done in the past before. What you're going to be using, if it's not too large of a rusted stone chip and if it hasn't gone through the metal, you've got the little white piece here at the end of your paint pen. That's actually going to be great for removing the rust. So I've actually gone ahead and done this yesterday. Of course, I washed the car all up, and you just take the little eraser part. You have to remove this little plastic here best as possible. You have to go to your stone chip, and like a pen eraser, you just get in there and you remove the rust. This is also good for decontaminating the stone chip. And once the rust is removed and you've leveled out the area a little bit, it's a pretty deep stone chip. It went through all the layers of clear coat and paint. You have your rag with Varsol or paint thinner, and you just prep the area. So I've got some here. You can even do it on larger stone chips. Like this large stone chip we have here, that was quite rusty yesterday. And just get in there, and like you're trying to erase something with an eraser, you erase away the rust. So of course, for the girlfriend's car, to get the correct paint stencil, you can't just go in and eye this and look and be like, oh well, you know, the sticker here basically matches what I have in my head as my vehicle's color. You need to order up your correct code. So to get the code, I've showed this in another video, but always a great reminder, to get the code, it'll either be on your door sill here under EXT PNT, that's exterior paint, and I ordered up N1. Or it might also be on this part of the door right here. So I've gone ahead and I have cleaned the paint chips. I've cleaned out the rust, and even those that didn't have rust, I used the little eraser to clean out any debris, grease or oil that might be in there, or dirt. And I used a rag with a little bit of paint thinner to clean out that hole. I've let it dry. Now, an important tip, don't do this in the hot sun. One, you're gonna probably, if you're leaving your hand against your paint to get stability, that's a great trick to fill in a paint chip without having the paint go all over. Use your paint for stability. Now, if it's extremely hot out or very sunny, you're going to burn your hand, and your paint is going to be very hard to work with because it's going to dry very quickly. It's going to be kind of a thick gunk, and it's not going to give you a nice finish. Now, ideally, I'd be inside the garage, but I've got junk in my garage, so I'm doing it outside, but I've waited for a day that's between 15 degrees Celsius and a max of 25 degrees Celsius. So you don't want to do it when it's too hot or too humid. You definitely don't want to be trying to do this when the humidity is up at 80%. So we've got to shake up our pen, get it open. If you put a little muscle into it, try to get as much paint off the shaft so it's not going to be dripping down onto your vehicle, into your hands. Get down to your paint chip. Use your palm for stability. So put your palm right up against the vehicle, and then you just fill it in. You can either use paint swiping motion, or if it's a small one, you can dab. Now this is going to be, it's a deep stone chip, so what I'm going to have to do is build it up. So that's coat 1, and I'm going to come back and do coat 2 and possibly 3 to build that up. You can't just throw in a ton of paint and hope it's level. So your paint chip will have removed paint. You'll have a layer that you need to build up to. You can't just throw a big drop of paint in there and hope it stays there and doesn't run all over the place. So get as much paint off the little wick as possible, and then just very light coat. And if you need to, do 3-4 coats. Take your time, be patient. Don't do it in the sun on a very sunny day. Park the vehicle in a shade, ideally. Clean your garage out. Do it in the garage, and do it on a day that's not too hot and humid. So around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 75, 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 85, that's just fine. So a few important tips and tricks, a bit of a review, but important to keep in mind. While you're doing the job, keep your rag with Varsol on you at all times, because if you do have paint drip onto your vehicle, or if you fill in your stone chip too much and it puffs above your old paint, you're going to want to remove it right away. You don't want to come back a few minutes later and try to scrub real hard to get it out. So have the rag on you. Do this in ideal temperature between 15 and 25 degrees Celsius, and not too humid, so that your paint does dry. And also take the time in between your layers of paint. Don't try to just put in a big blob of paint into the hole, because what's going to happen is your new paint in your stone chip is going to be higher than the rest of your paint, and that'll actually be quite visible. So take your time in between layers. Wait about half an hour to an hour in between putting very thin light layers. So always make sure that your paintbrush has not that much paint on it. So clean it off, and when there's not a whole lot of paint, and keep an eye on the shaft that doesn't drip down. And when you've waited a bit of time, you'll be ready for your second coat. So I'm actually down here, and you see, if you go too soon before your first coat has had time to dry, you're gonna leave streaks in the paint. And that's why you need to wait a good half hour minimum, but ideally wait an hour, even 2 if you have the time. You can do the project slowly over the whole day, building your coats up between 1 and 4 coats. Remember, when they painted your car, they didn't just put 1 coat of paint on it. So that's important. Build your coats up and come back the next day. Don't forget to cover it with clear coat, because otherwise in about a year, your paint correction that doesn't have clear coat on it is going to have been discolored and won't match your car anymore, because it will not have been protected, and it will not have reacted and been protected the same way as your car that has a clear coat on it will.